My name is Regina. Sitting here now, sipping my coffee and reflecting on the past few weeks, I'm reminded of a series of events that have completely transformed my perspective on family and self-worth. It was just a few days ago when there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find my mother, father, and my brother Ethan standing there. Mom looked haggard, as if she hadn't slept in days. Dad seemed reluctant, like he was only there because Mom had dragged him along. Ethan, well, he looked defeated, like he'd been in an internal battle and lost. They came inside, and out of habit, I made coffee. Even though these people had made me feel like an outcast in my own family, I was raised with manners. Mom started talking, her voice trembling. She told me about Ethan's girlfriend, Ivy. Ivy was 22 years old, with bright green eyes and a head full of curly red hair. She came from a family of architects and builders. Her grandfather had founded a large architectural firm that was well known across the country, and her mother was a renowned structural engineer. Ethan, during dinner, had boasted about our family being all about high-end corporate jobs. Ivy, being polite, asked about siblings, and Ethan casually mentioned I worked in construction, as if it were a dirty secret. Ivy's interest was piqued, and she started asking more questions. Ethan, not knowing much about my work, fumbled through his answers. When she asked why I wasn't at dinner, Mom, in a moment of honesty, blurted out that Ethan had asked for me not to be invited because he thought my job would be embarrassing. Ivy put down her fork and looked at Ethan with a calm, yet piercing gaze. She said, in her soft voice, that in her family, those who built things with their hands were the real heroes. Her grandfather had started as an apprentice carpenter, and every building his firm designed was a testament to the hard work of the construction crews. She said she would have loved to meet me. Ethan tried to make excuses, saying it might have been awkward, but Ivy stood her ground. She believed that our worlds weren't as different as he made them out to be. The atmosphere at the dinner table had changed, and it never fully recovered. After Mom finished explaining, Ethan finally found his voice. I found out about the contract, he said, looking down at his coffee cup. Luna posted something on her story, tagged your company. Regina, you're in charge of a $14 million commercial development project. The silence that followed was golden. It was one of the most satisfying moments I'd ever experienced. Dad cleared his throat and said he was proud of me. I thanked him, but I couldn't help but mention that it would have been nice to hear that before I was left out of a family gathering. Mom started crying, and I handed her a napkin. I knew she needed to let it out. Ethan's apology wasn't perfect. He explained a bit too much about his thought process, trying to justify his actions. But I accepted it. Not for his sake alone, but for mine. Carrying the weight of his rejection was too heavy, especially on top of my already physically demanding job. Let me rewind a bit. I've been working in construction for 6 years. I have a technical diploma in construction management, and I'm great with numbers and coordinating teams. I love my job because I can see the tangible results of my hard work every day. My hands are rough, my boots are scuffed, and I often smell like paint and cement, but I've never been ashamed of it. It was the middle of November when Mom called me. I was driving home from a long day at the site, still wearing my safety vest. I expected the usual chat about the weekend or maybe some shopping errands. Instead, there was that long, ominous pause. Regina, honey, about Thanksgiving this year, she said. I told her I'd already planned to bring my grandma's famous apple pie. That's when she dropped the bombshell. Ethan was bringing Ivy, and it was serious. He wanted to make a good impression, and he thought my job might make her uncomfortable. I was stunned. My car kept moving, but I felt like I'd hit a wall. I listened as Mom tried to justify his actions, saying it was important for things to go smoothly for Ethan. I wanted to scream at her, to ask her why she didn't stand up for me. But instead, I said, I understand. I hung up the phone and sat in my driveway for what felt like an eternity. I watched a little boy across the street flying a kite. The bright colors against the gray sky were a stark contrast to my mood. That night, I didn't call my best friend Luna or rant to my coworker Jake. I just sat in my apartment and let the pain wash over me. I felt humiliated, like my own family was ashamed of me. What they didn't know was that 3 weeks before, I'd signed the biggest contract of my career. I was no longer just a part of the construction crew, I was the supervisor in charge of the whole project. I'd been waiting to announce it at Thanksgiving, to share my joy with my family. But they'd taken that moment away from me. Thanksgiving came and went without me. Luna invited me to her place, but I declined. I needed the quiet. I made myself a nice meal, including the apple pie. I ate it at my own table in my own apartment, paid for with the money I'd earned through honest labor. It was peaceful in a way I hadn't expected. The following week, Ivy reached out through Ethan. We met for coffee. She was as warm and genuine as Mom had described. We talked for hours about our families, our careers, and our passions. She told me how her grandfather still got emotional when he visited the buildings he'd helped design. I told her about the first time I saw a building I'd supervised being completed. It was like a puzzle finally coming together. We exchanged real phone numbers before leaving. Ethan is still with Ivy, and from what I can tell, they're doing great. And last month, Ivy's grandfather contacted me for a potential collaboration on a new architectural project in the spring. My brother tried to hide me, but in the end, he opened doors I never thought possible. I'm still in my work boots, and I still smell like the job at the end of a long day. But now, I carry my pride a little higher.